How are you? I'm really excited to be here. That's me. That's me. You can tweet me at Maywow since we're being social. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to grow with social. I'm the CEO and founder of Obviously. We're an influencer marketing tech company. And it's pretty cool to talk to you today on this topic especially because I'm in a pretty unique position where I've actually built a profitable company only solely with social media and using influencers. We've been around for 5 years. We're profitable. We're tripling revenue growth every year. We have about 28 people now. We're actually 28 people on 5 offices in 3 continents, working globally with some really big brands like Google, Lyft, Sephora, you name it. So really honing in on their influencer strategies and how they should best work with influencers. And then to the second point, so the product and the service that I've actually built is specifically around how brands unlock the power of social media and how they can use it in their own businesses. I'm super excited to kind of dig in on that with you guys. So I thought I'd start off just talking about how I even got here to this point. One of my first jobs in social media was actually to run all the community management and social media management for the Real Housewives Facebook pages, which was a real trip. And I learned a lot about fanatical communities of people online. And it was really easy, too, because they'd be like, what about the drama last week? And it would be 10,000 comments. And they'd be like, great job, May. Nailed it. So that was awesome. And then I was like, okay, social's changing so quickly. It really makes sense for brands to be doing this in-house. There should be a social media manager with their finger on the pulse who knows everything that's happening in the company and can really give that authentic brand voice across social channels and really understand what's best to do there. So I joined Guild Group. I was running social media there, and that was awesome. The team was really fantastic, growing quickly, and I got to figure out, hey, how do we make the mobile app more social? How do we get people to share their purchases and share their really positive experiences? And when people have really negative experiences, how do we make sure that that's taken care of very quickly and we turn someone who's kind of annoyed into a loyal convert? So I was at Guild, and while I was at Guild, I started a blog called Obviously Social, and just kind of my musings on what to do in social media, how to best do social media marketing. I was running a ton of tests, and the space was changing so quickly. At this time, it was primarily Facebook pages, and ads on Facebook were just a thing, which is kind of insane now to think about. But anyway, so I started Obviously Social, and then a lot of my friends started seeing that, oh, hey, May actually knows what she's talking about in social. This is cool. Let's see if she can do some consulting for us and really build out our social strategies when my friends were building their own startups or going to cool other companies. And I was like, oh, this is the coolest part of my job. And then as I was doing this and really building out social strategies for brands, everyone's focusing so much on their brand channels themselves. I would be in meetings of what Instagram posts do we do, and really getting into the minutia of that, where it wasn't growing fast enough. We really needed to growth hack a better way for these brands to grow, not just their followings, but also traffic and revenue from social channels. So we started working with influencers and really testing out what size influencer, what type of influencer, what should we be doing with them, and how do we make sure we're doing this in a cost-efficient way because it can be extremely time-consuming. So at that point, I was still, I was working at Guild as well, and the fraud department contacted me and was like, hey, I think we have some fraud happening. This one person just made $60,000 in referral credits to Guild.com, and it's through social channels. It looks like it's through Pinterest. Can you check it out? And so I checked it out, and it was real. And she was just a very popular college senior who was going to Southern Methodist University and was, head of her sorority. And people were just buying a ton of what she was pinning. So I was like, okay, cool, this is awesome. This is something I can work with. This is driving real revenue for brands. Let's figure out how to do this as a company. So from there, after a long journey of 5 years, we came up with Obviously. It's a tech platform that streamlines working with influencers from identification to logistics to communication to reporting and figuring out who you should keep working with over the long term. And then we're a full-service influencer marketing company that sits on top of that because we found out that a lot of brands just simply don't have the time to talk to influencers 24 hours a day because they are a chatty bunch. I really wanted to just build a profitable company and to bootstrap it and to spend all my time talking to potential clients and talking to influencers rather than raising money. Maybe it was a little cocky, but I just didn't want to have a boss right away. I was super excited to have a company without one. And I was the business unit, the unit economics of this business actually make a lot of sense because what we're selling is pretty expensive. I think we can do this. So a few things that I did to really utilize social and really like make sure we were growing very quickly are the following. One, since I already had a blog and people knew I did social media management, I just started talking to everyone I knew and asking for a ton of intros. And I think sometimes people don't think about social media in these terms, but like your social network, your in real life social network is actually extremely important. And that's a really, really great place to start. And then from there, I did a lot of social listening. So what are people talking about online? What are influencers talking about? What are brands talking about when they're talking about working with influencers? This was when it was like a really nascent space, and a lot of people were very confused or didn't know very much about influencer marketing at all. So I started looking at what competitors were doing and then talking to brand managers and asking them like, hey, what would you actually spend money on right now, since I didn't have the runway to do anything other than what they would buy right at this moment. And we learned a few really key things right off the bat. One was that most brands, and a lot of brands still do this, have one big Google Doc with like every influencer they've ever worked with, and like their follower count and their Instagram handle and their shipping address and like their shoe size if it's a shoe company, that sort of thing, and it just kind of goes on and on and on. And it's a total mess. Once, if this is like global companies, like, global beauty brands with one Google Doc across, like, it makes no sense. An intern goes in, deletes something, it's like chaos. So we're like, okay, if we can replace this, if obviously can come in and just totally replace this in a dynamic CRM, like, we'll be great. And then we had some competitors who were just doing solely SaaS-based platforms, and I was seeing that they weren't really growing very quickly, and so talking to more and more people and looking more and more conversations online, and realized that like people just don't want to do this work themselves. Like for every one email we would send to an influencer, we would get 7 back. That's a very chatty group of people, and for one social media manager at like a giant company to handle that sort of volume when you're trying to work with thousands of influencers becomes a huge headache. So we're like, okay, let's build out the agency part of it too, and we can go in and say, hey, we're going to replace your spreadsheet, and then we're also going to replace all those man hours of your time, and then there'd be one person in the room who like had a single tear, and they were like very happy. So we'd get the contract. So we were able to grow very quickly in this manner without raising money, all because we were just really looking at what people were doing in social, and we were really building out our place as influencers so it's sort of meta, but influencers in the influencer marketing space. Okay. So it's like, who should you actually be working with? I'm going to just kind of segue to how you and your companies can actually work with influencers in the best way possible to really hit your KPIs, whether that's getting brand awareness around a brand new brand or a brand new product launch, or if it's driving sales, or if it's driving email signups. There are many different strategies for your different goals. But this is really the pyramid of influence that I built myself. And you have, your mega celebrities up at the top, your Kim Kardashians, your Chrissy Teigens, your people who have millions of followers, and when they do something, there's probably going to be an article about it as well. And that's really where the overlap between PR and influencer marketing occurs. And then there's the middle tier, which is micro-influencers, but I'll get into more. And then they're your regular guys. So who should you be working with? So at the very top level, I think a lot of people think of influencer marketing as just working with the Kim Kardashians and Chrissy Teigens of the world. But there are a few key things you need to know if you're actually going to work with them. And if you're trying to be a profitable business and you're new and you're just starting, this route probably is not for you, because you're probably going to need to drop around $100 grand to get 1 or 2 Instagram posts from these people, or you're going to give actual equity in your company, which I think a lot of founders are surprised that those are the conversations that are actually happening with these people's talent agents. And also, you're usually just getting 1 post. And actually, I have a client who did work with Chrissy Teigen, who I personally love. I think she's awesome, and is making a lot of money from influencer marketing. But the post was all about her new baby child, and she was wearing their dress, and they had just spent, $100,000 on that post. And there was a ton of engagement. People were really excited. But of all those people, how many of them actually realized that that dress was from that company? Very few. So you're really, doubling down on one big person, probably for 1 piece of content. And then when you look at the regular guys, these guys are super important too, because these are your users who are posting reviews. They're like your biggest fans. They're the people that come up to you on the street and meet you and are super excited and like, oh my God, I love your product. You guys are awesome. And you want to keep them super happy, but you also don't want to spend a ton of time on them because their reach is also very small. But then there's the sweet spot in the middle, which is the micro-influencers who, they're willing to do a lot for not that much money because they're really trying to get up to the top. So they're really leveraging their relationship with these brands just as much as you are leveraging them and their audience. And so when you put a t-shirt on them, it's great for them because they get to say, hey, look at these brands, like they all want to work with me, and then their audience gets excited about that. And at the same time, you pay so much less than if you're working with someone like who's a Chrissy Teigen of the world who has to give 10% to her manager and 10% to everyone else. So also, for one Chrissy Teigen, you can actually work with over 100 influencers multiple times over the year. And this process works really, really well if you can achieve this scale because you can test and learn and figure out, hey, of these 100 people, these 25 really performed well. Like when they put a promo code out there, their followers really responded. Or when they tweeted out a link, this many of their followers actually entered in their email. And we can test and learn and figure out which influencers are really converting for you and whose audiences are really working for you, as opposed to getting one post of Chrissy Teigen and her child and everyone forgot that's your dress. So how do you actually build out an influencer network? These are the things that we really, we talk a lot about because these are the things that have worked for hundreds of our clients and thousands of the influencers that we work with. So the first is building real, authentic, long-term relationships with the influencers who are really working for you. So that doesn't mean you need to go out to the bar with every single influencer who sends you an email saying they want free stuff. But it does mean that once you do send something to someone and you're tracking that and they do really work for you and you want to keep working with them, you should build a real relationship with them because the content's going to perform a lot better. Also, working at scale is really, really important. A lot of brands will come up to me and be like, yeah, we worked with 5 influencers. Influencer marketing doesn't work for us. I'm like, yeah, you're doing it wrong. You can't work with 5 influencers. You need to work with 100 and then find those top 25 and figure out what the deal is with them and then tweak and optimize what you're actually doing. It's very similar to Facebook ad targeting where you need to change the copy, you need to change the content, and you need to change the targeting for those ads. And then I also really advocate for, and people are kind of surprised about this, but primarily working for product rather than payment, or a product and a really cool experience. So we sent 30 influencers with Google to Sundance, and they had an all-expense paid trip. It was awesome. We didn't pay them anything, but we had, of those 30 people, they created over 2,000 pieces of content on Instagram in the form of stories and posts. So really getting people who are opting in and influencers who are raising their hand being like, I would totally go to Sundance with you. I'm so excited to work with your brand. Let's do this. Rather than someone who's like, I'll work with anyone for $2,000. This is very important. And then, yeah, just testing, learning, and optimizing, which is kind of my big thing. Another big thing is that I think a lot of times people influencer and you think of everyone in Soho who's taking a selfie who's 22 years old and in a cute outfit. And for your brand, that's probably, maybe that is who you're going for and that's awesome. It's a lot easier. But a lot of brands we work with, they're going after women who are between 50 and 65 and have an average household income of over $100,000. Working with that 22-year-old woman in Soho is not going to be the way to reach that older audience. So you really need to analyze the audiences of the influencers that you're working with to make sure that, number one, their followers are real, they're not fake. 2, they live in an area that's important to you. If you only have retail locations in the Northeast, you shouldn't be working with influencers who are huge in the Southwest. It just doesn't make sense. And then also making sure, say you're working with a really hot guy, making sure that his followers are actually your customers too. It's not just a ton of girls who think he's super cute and are all his fans. You want people who are actually going to convert as customers for you. And then it's important to really test, learn, and optimize with these people so you're keeping track of everything that they're doing in a really easy to use, easy to find way. So when you do have a cool pop-up activation in Nashville and you already work with 1,000 influencers, you know which ones are in Asheville, and can actually just go and invite them and make them feel really special and have them hang out with your team. So in terms of how to actually break down an entire influencer campaign, here are the basic steps. For people who don't do influencer marketing and have just heard a ton about it, they probably don't realize there's a lot of menial stuff that goes into it. For instance, boxing up 200 boxes and sending them out and making sure those influencers get those tracking numbers. A lot of it's not very glamorous, and actually why we do a lot of it for our clients. But so you identify the right influencers, making sure their audiences are right, and these influencers are genuinely excited to work with you. You then create a creative brief where that's really going to emphasize the things that are right for your brand, while it's still being true to the individual person, and it doesn't look like a billboard. And then you're going to manage all the communication, which actually takes a ton of time. Handle all shipping and logistics, which is actually the biggest pain point for most brands, is like things go missing or they don't even know if influencers get what they need. And then performance reporting, which is so important. If you work with 100 influencers, you need to know which 25 did the best, who you should keep working with, and who you should like politely say, like, yeah, we're not gonna work with you anymore. That was great. So I did just want to run through a quick case study with you guys. So we did a campaign with Sephora, and we first did a one-off campaign, and we worked with 250 influencers. We sent them all this really cool lip palette with I think it had like 300 different colors, and it was like perfect for Instagram. And they selected the influencers they want to work with. We shipped out the product. We were talking to them. Obviously, influencers are psyched about a cool, sexy brand like Sephora. And then they created the content. We analyzed it. We told them who they should keep working with. They were so excited. They're like, hey, let's build out a long-term network. Let's find those influencers that we want to work with 4, 5, 6 times during the course of the year, and tell them up front that we actually want to build a longer-term relationship with them. So it's the equivalent of, instead of being a free agent in the NFL, actually getting locked down for that long-term contract, which is really appealing for a lot of influencers. So we were first able to say, hey, the brand loves you, thinks you're really, really awesome. We'd love to enter a long-term relationship with you. We're gonna DTR right now and really define this, and it's gonna be great. So are you into it? And then that's really important for influencers, because if you put yourself in the influencer shoes, they're really emailing and hustling and emailing brands that they love, 20 to 40 a day, and usually they get no response, or they get some response, but it's people who are dealing with a spreadsheet and can't even handle it. So it's really, really hard for them to get the partnerships that they want. So when they get one locked in and they know it's going to be awesome, they go above and beyond, and they do a really, really good job. And then we were able to build real relationships with these influencers because we knew they were going to be around for a while, and it made sense to actually invest the time to make sure that they were loving the brand. And here's some content from those campaigns. It was pretty cool. We first gave them a $150 gift card. We're like, go for it, write a ton of reviews on the site. We're going to invite 100 of you to BeautyCon in LA. You get to meet the Sephora team there. Then we're going to give 25 of you an exclusive Tom Ford palette, which for some of you people who aren't into makeup, that's really high-end luxury. Very cool. And then we gave them additional gift cards and additional gifts and just made them feel really special. And the content was really quite awesome. So then when we really analyzed this compared to before for the one-off campaign, which they were very happy with, by the way, we found that it really worked. It extremely outperformed the initial one-off campaign when we were able to tell influencers that we were in this for the long haul if they did a great job. So to just look at some of the numbers, there was a 4x increase in the number of influencers who said, yes, I want to participate. So we were able to recruit the best of the best, who we still didn't pay them, but we were giving them lots of cool products and exclusive experiences throughout the year. So we got some people who otherwise would have said no for a one-off gift, but they were really excited to work with Sephora for the long term and to be able to tell their followers that they're a Sephora partner. Then these influencers actually created a ton of content because they really wanted to stay in the program. So over 3.75 times as much content was created than in the one-off campaign. And if any of you guys work with influencers now, it can be hard to get them to do the bare minimum. So to have them just over-deliver in such an insane way was really awesome. On average, we had influencers posting 10 additional reviews to the Sephora.com when that wasn't even part of the program. They would just send it to, they're like, please keep me in, please let me have the exclusive palette. Here's all the extra homework I did, here's all the extra credit. And we were just really blown away by the level of insane engagement that these people were really providing. I mean, the Sephora brand love was pretty much off the charts, which I can't quantify, but it was true. And then just in terms of reach, there was a 91% increase in the reach of this campaign compared to the one-off, which is insane, but it's because we were able to get the best influencers possible, and they were just creating a ton of content. And the prizes were basically the same, but it was just they felt special. They felt like they were part of something, and they really loved a brand. So yeah, it's pretty fantastic job with them. And this is really the strategy that we advocate for. And it really works for any type of brand, from small brands to brands that are just starting out that really have that new cachet. Getting influencers on board then to be long-term brand ambassadors is huge. Or say you're going after college-age kids and you want college brand ambassadors who are going to be on Snapchat all day long. Getting them in and then having a set strategic program for them really works extremely well. So yeah, thanks so much, guys, for your time.